Okay. So at the risk of repeating some of the things, but I'm turning this around the other way. Everyone's been talking about how wonderful things are and how good they may be, or how wonderful things are, but, and I'm talking about but, and then do the how wonderful things could be. Is that a clicker? Does this work?
You better start doing that, it's great.
So, my name is Taggert. I'm Counterculture on Twitter, for bizarre reasons which I won't go into. I founded a site called Openly Local about 2.5 years ago. Basically, we scraped council websites, whether they liked it or not, and actually unexpected to get a takedown notice, and the result was that the Cabinet Office asked me to sit on the advisory board opening up local data. So about 10,000 councillors, 150 councillors, got about £14 billion worth of local spending data, individual transactions. I'm also the co-founder of a fairly significant site called Open Corporates, which is the open database of the corporate world. We're creating a URL for every company in the world, and so far we've got 27.5 million. Actually, it's a little bit more than that. We've just started, this morning, adding Polish companies. So that's taken us up to 34 jurisdictions. And we should be up to about 28 and a bit million in the next day or so. And with another data set we're about to import, that should take us to 30 million. This is a micro startup. Micro startup meaning we have no office. There's me and a few other people that are doing it the other people are doing it part-time. There's a whole bunch of people in the community that's scraping, the open data community that's doing scraping for this. And together we've got the biggest open data set of companies in the world that have been assembled, and it's all open data under an open database license. So, open data, fantastic. That's why we're here, that's why we're kind of proud of ourselves. We should be to a degree, but what is when the party finishes. Because I've looked into the future, and it's not entirely pretty. I've talked to people about where society's going, where democracy's going, and where the role the data plays in this, and tried to wanted them to tell me I was being wrong, and they haven't managed to yet. We're looking at a highly interconnected world, but it's a highly interconnected world where the data is closed, with a very few, probably less than 10, maybe even fewer than 5, closed big data owners, where the power comes from, of data, power of big data particularly, comes from being able to connect it. And you take some key data sets and you make them proprietary. You take the amount of private data that is being assembled, whether it's our mobile phones, our credit cards, shopping, our movements, and in the UK, if you're, for example, Tesco, the biggest supermarket, many people bank with Tesco, shop with Tesco, have a Tesco mobile phone, have health insurance with Tesco, buy their prescriptions at Tesco, and I asked the Information Commissioner's office what restrictions there were. Could Tesco say, I'm going to, I see that you shop at Sainsbury's, and because I've seen your geolocation from your mobile phone, can they use that to give you special offers? Yeah, sure, why not? There's no problems in data protection for that. And actually, as these issues, one of the things that's happening is that these data sets are becoming tighter and tighter and more closed. The data goes in, we can't get it out. We can't get personal data out, and we can't get anything out. And they love purchasing public data because it's a restriction to the community, it's a restriction to their smaller competitors. And practically they are outside the scope of governance. And the future is one in which open data, all of what we're doing now, is a historical artifact. You look at some of the political movements, you look at some of the community movements that have happened, and oh yeah, that was interesting, but it never quite worked. And I think that's where we may be in 5 years' time, certainly 10 years' time. So Why did that happen? It comes down to relevance. It's just all about relevance, all about relevance. So we allow ourselves to be marginalised. Things like the Open Government Partnership, open wash I call it. Top-down approach. Few people here were invited to it, and frankly, were, as far as I can tell, were fairly mystified by the whole thing. You have countries that are members of the Open Government Partnership, like Spain, that don't even have a Luxembourg, which don't even have a Freedom of Information Act. But it's a process that the governments feel comfortable with, the civil servants feel comfortable with, because it's not threatening. We didn't achieve critical mass. These are just a few websites. My Society, Sunlight Foundation, Farm Subsidy, Open Street Map, Open Corporates, Open Spending. Of those, there are only 2, Open Corporates and Open Spending, that are deeply interconnected. We've made strategic decisions and worked together, and actually it's been quite hard in some cases, just technically and just getting things organised, to deeply connect those. And some of those aren't even open data. I mean, Sunlight Foundation's transparency data, which Alan talked about yesterday, fantastic resource, not open data, no non-commercial use. We need, if we're going to win this war, then we need to massively interconnect it. So, you know, you look on the My Society list, there's no link pages, there's no link to farm subsidy, there's no link to other open things. Now, that's not, My Society do wonderful, fantastic stuff. But we need to get over this. We need to sort these issues out. If we're going to be a proper community, we need to be more highly interconnected than the closed data. We didn't appear in search results. Now, Google hates open data. What is the purpose of open data? It's so that the data can be reused. So, we put out open data, we want it to be reused. One of the metrics that we have internally is how much it gets reused. You know what? We get hit by this, duplicate content. It's elsewhere, it's being used by other people. Now I think that's a success. I think that makes the world a little less shit. Google thinks that we have no value because of that. We need to change that. There are ways we can change it, but we need to change that. And at the moment, frankly, and speaking as someone I consider myself to be an open data entrepreneur, but nobody's business depends on this at the moment. There aren't people, you know, one of the reasons why open source really got take-up is that people's business started to depend on open source existing, on these projects existing, and working. People started building businesses around open source, to support it, to come up with new projects, and so on to new business models. And at the moment, they don't exist. Someone was talking to me last night and said, you know, Chris, you know, open corporates is what, you know, and what you're doing is about the only example I can come up with. There are a couple, you know, that I can think of, other ones, but there aren't many of us. We didn't put anyone in prison at the moment. You know, we need to have it so that journalists use open data every day. You know, Friedrich from Open Spending and I both have done a few data-driven journalism workshops, and we've done it because it's really important that journalists get data. And that more than that, they get why open data is empowering to them and they need it to work. And we need some stories that are going to be using open data at its heart to put people in prison, because that's going to have the resonance that gives it the political power. So, pretty bleak. But I think that's, actually I do think that's our likely future. I would say 70% likely that it's going to happen. But you know what, there's a 30% chance it won't. And if we work harder, we can make that, maybe make that 40%. So there is a chance to change it and get a future that works for people, that works for us, that works for society. So the first thing is, don't be irrelevant. If there is anybody in this room who hasn't seen Karl Malmberg's 10 Rules for Radicals, go and look for it as soon as you can. It's on YouTube, it's on the Internet Archive, Creative Commons. It's inspiring and it's useful. Expect failure. Look, you know, my assumption is, I've started a few businesses now, and I know that statistically, when you start a business, it will fail. but you still do it. And I think that's one of the reasons why when capitalism does work, when it works in the right way, it's about people taking the risk and saying, we're just going to have a go with this. And it might not work, but it might work. And it's why we need not just non-profits, not just charities doing this and so on. We need a wide ecosystem because we want to have this failure, and we want to have failure, and people learn from that failure and do something that does work based on that failure, failing forward. But it's also that when you incorporate this from an entrepreneurial point of view, you know you need to fight. You're fighting for your survival. I am fighting Dun & Bradstreet. I'm trying to turn a $10 billion industry into a $10 million industry, or maybe a little more. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it is at the moment. But we're trying to shrink that so that all those inefficiencies, all that asymmetries of power that goes on at the moment is massively reduced. And we're fighting really hard for that. We need to divide the politicians and the bureaucrats. There's very, very few of us. I mean, we're talking a few hundred people really here in terms of the main activists. We're not talking 2,000. If I don't go to an EU event, if I don't go to a consultation in the UK government, then chances are no one from the open data community will go to that. And there are some cool features that we're so close to doing on open corpus, but I spent probably half of the last 2 weeks dealing with this evil public data corporation proposal in the UK. But because I know if I don't go, then it won't happen. And so we quickly can't waste our time doing everything. We need to work out what we want to do. But politicians and bureaucrats say either they're an enabler or they're a blocker. Deal with praise the enablers, work with them, and ignore the blockers, and go public where necessary.
1 minute.
Okay. And I want some of you in this room to build a business on open data. Really, no. Do it now. Work out this afternoon what you're going to do around open data and actually do something about it, build a business. Link to other open data sites. Just link to open data sites. Link to us or don't link to us, but link to other open data sites. Deep link. Cleverly link. Link saying information about politicians, about this politician, so that when somebody's, and their name, in the title, so that helps Google, it helps those search rankings. Use canonical link tags, because if we don't get good at SEO, then we won't be relevant. For most people, we won't appear in those search results. And we've got to force Google to reward open data publishers and not penalise them. Google talks a lot about open data, but it's bullshit. We need to say, if you're interested and care about open data, then make sure open data projects get rewarded, publishers get rewarded. And finally, we need to disrupt. If we're not, if we think open data is an empowering and disruptive technology, then we need to disrupt. And that means that incumbents are going to cause problems. So there are some very senior civil servants who get this very well. And that's why they're pushing back against it. That's why they're moving people who do know what they're talking about, replacing them with people who don't. Let's accept that we're in a fight here, that we're in a war, and go hard for it.